well, let's talk about some transfer news, shall we? Because it looks like Mohamed Kudus and Morgan Gibbs White are on the move. And we were talking about Tottenham Hotspur earlier on with Gareth Bale and seeing exactly where they stand. And they have been busy in this transfer window indeed. Now let's welcome in our dear good friend, Mark Ogden. He is out of the sun and the heat. He has bought a tie and a jacket and a shirt just to be with us here today.
Well, I'm replacing Gareth Bale. I've got to kind of, do my bit.
I know. Gareth brought such positive vibes, so we had to bring it down a couple of pegs. So we brought Augie. We brought Augie. No, because Augie is our brain as well when it comes to transfers. We were talking Spurs, as you saw, Augie. Mohamed Kudus. This is looking like a good deal, official already. Well,
Kudus is done, and it's upset a lot of West Ham fans because he's one of their favourite players, and to go to Tottenham if you're a West Ham player is not a sort of thing you do. But Spurs have signed him. It's an interesting signing because I think he had an up and down time at West Ham last season. I know, Robbie, you thought he was one of their best players. I think the first season was fantastic when he came from Ajax. But for me, the really interesting one is Gibbs White because they've managed to find out that he's got an escape clause at 60 million. But obviously, Kudus is the one they've done at the moment. But if they get Gibbs White over the line as well, that is a great signing. A great midfielder that a lot of big clubs are looking at.
Robert, what do you think about this business?
Well, Kudus has got a lot of potential. He did, as he said, he did play very well in the first season. But I know a lot of West Ham fans, Shaka being one of them on certain days, and he's someone with a bit of pace. He can go past people. He adds a bit of dynamism to any team. He's got to show a bit more consistency. And like Oggy said, if they can get Gibbs White, he's an outstanding player. He's somebody that is really good on the counter-attack. He can play in a wide area. He's mainly a number 10, but he's got good skills. He can see a pass. And it's a worry for Nottingham Forest. If you sell a Langer and you also sell Gibbs White, that's a bit of a problem for them, but that's good for Tottenham.
Yeah, big problem, I suppose, for Nottingham Forest, especially after they had it looked like they were having such a wonderful season. Shaka, you heard what Augie said. If you're from West Ham, you don't go to Spurs, but still had to be done, you think?
Listen, Spurs are a bigger club, so you understand the attraction to a player like Mohamed Kudus, and to the point that both Augie and Rob were making, had Spurs tried to do this deal 12 months ago, they probably would have paid a whole lot more money. He is direct, very different from anything Spurs have right now on their books. So it gives them a good option at a decent price. And for Mohamed Kudus, it's an easy decision to make, a tough one in figuring out how West Ham replaces that directness, replaces that attacking threat, because I'm not sure that they have, outside of Gerard Bowen, I'm not sure they have too many other players who can give you that.
I mean, Gibbs White is a classic example of what the Champions League means to players because they were so close to Nottingham Forest to get in the Champions League. And had they got in the Champions League, I'm pretty sure that he wouldn't have left Nottingham Forest. But now they're out of it, and Tottenham all of a sudden finished, way down the table, won the Europa League. They're in the Champions League, and they can attract players like Morgan Gibbs White. Not so long ago, Man City were looking at Gibbs White. That shows the calibre of player he is. And I'm really surprised that, with due respect to Tottenham, a bigger club than Tottenham haven't come in for Gibbs White, because I think he's a really good player. He does every job you could imagine in midfield. He can run, he can pass, he can tackle, he can score. So Spurs are getting a really good player if they can get that over the line.
Well, if you're Arsenal, you're probably looking at the business that Spurs is doing now in the transfer window and thinking, anything you can do, I can try to do better. And word is that the Gunners are in it for Noni Madueke. They didn't have to go that far for that one. Augie, what do you think of this and the likelihood of it happening too?
Yeah, that'll happen. Again, Chelsea need to get some players off the books now because they've signed a lot of players again this summer. They've also been hit by UEFA with a big fine for the way that they've contravened financial regulations with UEFA. So they have to get players out. And Madueke, again, homegrown player, enables them to have their PSR 100%, pure profit situation. So Madueke to Arsenal, I was saying to Robert, it's interesting because he plays the same side as Shaka. So where's he going to play?
At his best, he plays on the same side as Shaka. Chelsea have played him on the left, but he's not been anywhere near as effective on the left-hand side. And that's where you'd expect Arsenal bought him for, to not replace, but be a competition for Martinelli.
And the issue with Arsenal fans right now is I'm watching what they're saying on Twitter is they've signed Zubimendi, they've signed Kepa, they've signed Norgard, they're signing Madueke. What about the striker? Because it's all about getting a striker now. They do like Gyökeres at Sporting Lisbon, but it's not happened yet. And they're spending a lot of money on players that weren't the priority. We're hearing about Rodrigo as well as potential. I think that's unlikely considering what they've spent. But Gyökeres is the key. They have to get a striker in. They looked at Sesko. Gyökeres is the guy.
So what's gone wrong? Because Jules Laurent was saying that it was almost done about 3 or 4 days ago. Yeah, it's going to be done. It's only a case of nuts and bolts and all that sort of stuff.
I think what happens is when Premier League clubs are involved, I think the clubs that are getting rid of the players, you think, well, Premier League tax, let's try and get a bit more, because they know that Arsenal are desperate for a striker, Man United are desperate for a striker. So the clubs that are getting rid of these players think, well, we'll push the button because we can get another £10 million out of these clubs because they are so desperate, and also they've all got a lot of money. We're seeing it with Man United and Mbumo now. That's been going on for about a month. I was told, 3 or 4 weeks ago, it's £3 or £4 million apart, it'll be done. And it still hasn't been done because clubs that are getting rid of centre forwards or goal scorers know that goal scorers are the players that everybody wants.
Will Shaka go to Arsenal, do you think?
I think he will, yeah. He wants to go there. It's a deal that can be done, but these deals just don't happen quickly, do they?
All right, well, let's move on now. Still talking about Arsenal, though, because word is that they are very interested in a certain Rodrigo Goes, who's at Real Madrid. Unfortunate situation for the Brazilian. We know he's looking like surplus to requirements, especially the news coming out of Madrid is that Xavi has let him know that he is not exactly a part of his plans going forward. Shaka, is this a player that Arsenal definitely should go for?
Listen, I think a player of Rodrigo's quality, of his experience, of the things that he's won, he'd be a welcome addition to Arsenal. The big question does become exactly where does he play, where's his best position in terms of who Arsenal already have, how they line up, how Mikel Arteta makes them adjust. But young enough, certainly talented enough, and being surplus to requirements at Real Madrid, I think he's an attractive talent.
For an Arsenal, though, it's either Madueke or Rodrigo, surely. You can't have both the players because then you get too many players.
Well, saying that, we've kind of said that about Arsenal and Mikel Arteta for quite some time. How many similar players are they going to sign without signing that striker? No. Whether the Gyökeres deal gets done, that need has been there for the last couple of seasons. Outside of that, even though you're signing talent, it's a lot of pretty similar talent, and this just kind of goes down that path again.
Any chance to Arsenal, Woggy?
I think it's unlikely because of like you said, they brought in Madueke. We're hearing Chelsea maybe. Chelsea like a signing, don't they? Liverpool has been mentioned as well. Yeah. I mean, I just wonder with Rodrigo when it's a situation that Xabi Alonso has been told that we need to get some players out this summer. And he's the obvious one because they're not going to get rid of Mbappe. They're not going to be Vinny Jr. I think Gonzalo Garcia is a kid that's come through. They give him a chance, and he will play the Rodrigo role for the next couple of years. He'll play wherever they want him to play because he's desperate for his chance. I think Rodrigo's developed beyond that, but he's just not the big name that the other two are. And it'd be a case of, well, you're the easiest one to get rid of because I don't want to get rid of those two.
I mean, we've been talking about Rodrigo for a long time now, of course, Robbo, at Real Madrid, and we know the quality he is. You just feel like he's just not taking his chances when he has given them, or is he a little bit hard done by all the other big names that have been brought in?
I think he's been hard done by it. I don't think he dominates games quite enough. You see, he'll have good games. He'll go past people, he can get crosses in, he can play in all sorts of roles across the front. And when Vinny Jr. wasn't playing, he'd go and play on the left-hand side, and he'd play better out on the left-hand side. Like most, and Gareth Bale talked about it, most players like now coming in on their favoured foot. He's playing on the right-hand side when he's usually playing for Real Madrid. He hasn't affected enough games, enough of the big games. So that's probably why they're allowing him to go. But he's a good player, and I think he's a bit hard done by.
I think Rodrigo's an outstanding player, and I thought you saw that a couple of years a couple of years ago in particular, and maybe one along with quite a few others who were now maybe got the praise that they deserved in that Champions League winning season, and then all of a sudden had to try to adjust and to Mark's point, kind of given the two big names, Mbappe and Vinicius Jr., having to play in a position that he doesn't like, and always kind of the third wheel. And so last season wasn't anywhere near as good as you would hope or expect, given what we saw from him 12 months prior. So it's a difficult one for Rodrigo because they aren't going to leave the other two out. Those two are going to play, and then so what do you do with him in that regard? And given, as I say, 2 years ago, you just wonder if he's not also thinking, let me just stick this out, see where it goes for a little bit.
Yeah, shame for Rodrigo because I do definitely respect him as a player. He always comes up with a clutch goal sometimes when Real Madrid has needed it. And as you said, I feel like he's just gone underrated there. But sticking with Real Madrid, I guess it could be out with old, in with the new. And they also have signed a new player, Alvaro Carreras, for €50 million coming from Benfica. Augie, tell us more about this one. They finally get their left back.
This is a really interesting story because a year ago he was at Man United, having had a loan spell at Benfica. And United sold it to Benfica for £8 million. Basically, a real bargain signing. But within that deal, they had an agreement that if he played well, they would monitor his progress and they could sign him back for £15 million in January. Now, United looked at him, decided not to re-sign him in January and signed Patrick Dorgu instead, who's had an up and down time.
Yeah. What did they pay for him?
He paid, I think, close to £30 million.
Right, OK.
Now, 6 months later, Alvaro Carreras, who's gone to Real Madrid for £50 million. So
great business by
does
United.
that say
once
that Man
again.
United are overspending on Carreras, or have Man United messed up? I'll leave that until next season.
I think we know what the answer is. Man United have messed up, surely.
I don't know too much about him, but Oggy obviously knows more about him than I do. Real Madrid, that's one of the positions that we talked about, a left back. You know, Mendy's is good, but is he top class? Fran Garcia, is he a left back or a left wing back?
He had a loan spell at Preston the year before Preston North ended the Championship.
You're selling him.
The year before.
Okay, you're selling him.
And I was told that he was really attack-minded, a bit like Trent. So that if they're having two attacking fullbacks, that gives you an idea what Alonso wants. But whether he will get in the team to start with, but it's a big feat to put you on the bench, isn't it?
It certainly
What
is.
do you think?
Oh no, it's a needed position for Real Madrid. They had to address that. Did some business on the right hand side, even with Carvajal coming back, so you understand that left back was always a need, and we will see how Carreras fits in. We see how it all works out.
We just said that he's 6'2", so almost as tall as Shaka.
No, not quite.
Not quite Shaka.